Hello, all of you delightful beings out there, and welcome to the stream. I am Razim, and this is Scardev, or DevTales, because that's what I typically call these segments, but yeah, currently I am Paint the African Wild Dog.
Don't worry, I'm actually Shada, not Sebastian.
Yes.
That is good.
It's good news for all of you. Alright, so you ready to facepalm because of the dumb thing we completely forgot?
What's that?
We never put second wind in maneuvers.
Were we making that a maneuver?
Yeah, it was called the second wind maneuver. Remember?
Oh, yeah. I was planning to put it elsewhere, but yeah, it works best as a maneuver, so yeah, let's put it in.
Yep. Well, because I double-checked, and it wasn't in the healing section either, so I was like, that would be the only other section that it would make sense in. But it's still a maneuver.
Yeah.
Technically, so.
Hello there, Zolette.
We're gonna have to make sure to actually add in the thing about how you can use it to... Do you want to use it to... it only cleanses one stage. Or would it cleanse only one stage, or would it completely cleanse one status condition? I don't know what you want there.
Okay, so first off, let me find it here. Where was it in the...
It was in the old, It was in an old section.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where it was before.
Control F. Second wind. Yep, the only other time that I'm really seeing it is second wind maneuver just being referenced. And, yep, the only other time that it's mentioned is healing during combat using these two stats is called second wind. A character could use their second wind, however, will not reset their saves. Use second wind to get back up. Yeah, no, wherever it was, it is no longer where it was. We do not have actual things for second wind anywhere.
Okay, well...
We do have it referenced multiple times in the main doc as the second wind maneuver, but yeah.
Okay.
We don't have any rules for it.
Well, let's fix that.
Yeah. You see why I said that this is something that was going to make you facepalm a bit?
Pet the Rex.
Yes, pet the Rex.
Hey Rex. Also, that just sounds bizarre. It's like it just got Thanos snapped.
Yep. Hey Rex, what are you saying by Shade is in the game now?
We're not doing the tabletop game yet, Rex. We're doing we are currently working on Scar.
I mean, Shade is fine to have in a game. The problem would be Sebastian. So, do we want second wind to be restorative, or do we want it to be true? I think that's the first thing that we should probably discuss.
Considering it generates 2 points of exhaustion, I'm thinking true.
Alright, I'm fine with that. We'll just have to make sure to flavor it as, like, basically like pulling power from within you in order to actually heal yourself. Because, true healing is where it actually heals you, so we need to explain how it actually heals you.
Yeah.
But, yep. So, I know that when we were doing it kind of like originally, it was with a thing of, what's the word for it? It was a D10 face value, and then it was plus some other modifier, and I can't remember what that modifier is.
We'll just come up with new rules on it.
That's fair.
Hey there, Atchi. Hello, Spooky. Hello there, Azure.
Hello, everyone.
Yep. Don't worry, Azure. I was saying that I'm currently Shade and not Sebastian, and Shade is fine to have around. The problem would be Sebastian.
Alright, so yeah, it's gonna be able to... It doesn't make a huge amount of sense for it to be able to heal an ally, but going with the theme of the system of working together and stuff, I want to have that in there.
We could
Plus-
always we could always flavor it as passing along that little spark.
Yeah.
I think I'm fine with that.
Shade is a blast and Seb can get blasted.
Yeah. And yes, Vane would not approve of Shade. Vane would have a conniption. Alright, so we want it to probably be... I think I'm still fine with a D10.
Um... Hmm. How about 1d10 plus the total of your vigor and willpower?
That's what I was thinking. I was just also considering if we want to count their vigor and will as being one lower. But do they use up the vigor and will and then heal, or do they heal, which then spends the vigor and will?
They spend it first, but I'm talking about the actual stats, not...
Oh, just true score. Okay.
Yeah.
Would that take into account any bonus that you get from temp evolution or the like?
Yeah, why not?
Alright.
So is Shade secretly the therapy Vane needs? I really don't think so.
I really don't think so. And like I said, the other problem is that Vane literally couldn't kill Shade. Shade legitimately would heal faster than Vane could deal damage.
Beerus, I think you're in the wrong stream there. Hello there, Alt Pal. Well, as I said to Raharu, we are doing Scar Dev, so it needs to stay on topic.
Yep.
But yeah,
Otherwise,
so I think that,
go ahead.
yeah, I think that D10 face value plus, the amount of vigor and will you have is perfectly fine.
All the cuties in here.
Why, hello there.
Hi.
That's fair.
Yeah, I was just changing it real quick to say attributes, that's it.
I'm not gonna bother putting in face value because we do explain elsewhere that
Yep.
if it's written 1d10, it's, face value, and 1.d10 would be success based.
That is standard, so yeah. Don't have to explain it.
Makes sense to me.
Yeet.
Considering the exhaustion, I kind of want to make it where it can completely negate and reset. Like, you can use it for healing, or you can use it to basically reset the character. So removes all status conditions and resets stat changes to 0. How does that sound?
Isn't that a little too strong?
Considering it does true healing at the cost of 2 exhaustion. Well, I mean, you get either the true healing or the reset. But it is at the cost of a point of vigor, a point of willpower, and 2 points of exhaustion.
Ah.
Yeah.
So it is a very costly thing to use, which is why I think it should be more powerful.
Yeah, one thing that I'm considering is that, 2 is a fair bit, but it doesn't bracket you. I'm thinking that if you're a use it for a true reset, maybe it should bracket you.
I disagree on that. I like the 2 points of exhaustion because it also, like I said, consumes a point of vigor and a point of willpower. And willpower itself, allowing you to do a reroll, rerolls can be very, very useful, as we have seen.
Yes. What do you mean by bracketing you?
Oh, it's a term used in a lot of tabletops if you have different brackets of things that happen either for your stats or things based on where either like think about things such as heat in BattleTech, if you know that, or if there's a changing stat bar on a vehicle depending on where its health is at. A lot of times that's called being bracketed if you're moved down into or up into another bracket where things will change. So basically, when I say bracket, what I mean is that it won't move you into another exhaustion bracket on its own.
Ah,
That's what I was
okay,
considering.
I think I get it.
Yeah, that's fair. I just want to be like,
I mean, it also will remove any buffs that you have. Like
That's
I said, it resets things to 0.
Yeah.
That is fair, actually. Yeah.
So, if you've got any buffs going on, obviously temp evolution stuff won't be affected by it, but,
Yeah, you could just flavor it as stat changes and conditions.
Yeah.
Temper evolution is not a condition technically, so. But one thing that I'm thinking about is because of reaction, what you could do is wait until just before your turn starts, like you're playing Magic, and hold priority, and then use it, and then you use your reaction to do it, then start your turn. I mean, I guess technically that's fine, it's just more something that I'm considering.
I'm fine with it.
Yep. Just something I wanted to bring up.
We will leave in the or quick action. That way, if they want to use their reaction for something else, that's fine.
Yep. We should put in a note that this, includes positive or negative.
Since we use buffs and debuffs and terminology.
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright, how's that all look? For those on stream, these magical creatures are strong. They have pools of power deep within themselves that can be tapped into. This is where the second wind maneuver comes into play. The second wind maneuver is a special maneuver that can be used as a quick action on your turn in order to grant true healing to yourself, or you can pass along that strength to an ally. This healing is equal to 1d10 plus your vigor and willpower attributes. Thus, if you have 3 vigor and 4 willpower, second wind will grant true healing of 1d10 plus 7. The second wind maneuver can also be used as a reaction or quick action in order to remove all conditions currently affecting your character, as well as reset all of your stat changes to 0. This includes both buffs and debuffs. Using this maneuver is not free, however. In order to use the second wind, you will need to spend 1 point of vigor, 1 point of willpower, and thus accrue the standard 2 points of exhaustion for doing so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
That sounds good.
The only thing that I'm thinking of is maybe staying away from outright calling them magical, because we do have it in many places that things aren't necessarily magical in order to not force magic into campaigns. Maybe just saying special.
We have referred to the creatures as being magical,
That's fair.
but yeah, I can go ahead and remove that.
Yeah, I just want to be careful about that because we've been careful in other places about it, so.
So, feat upgrades for this. Perhaps one that allows you to choose whether you could spend 2 points of vigor or 2 points of willpower instead of having to do 1 vigor and 1 willpower.
Maybe. Another feat upgrade that I was thinking of is being able to heal more, like D10s, but like double the exhaustion every single time. I guess not double, but like 2 more exhaustion for every dice you roll. So you could willingly accrue 6 points of exhaustion to get 3d10 plus your attributes. If you're like desperate.
I mean, there's no reason we only have 1 feat upgrade per maneuver. Like, I know the movement maneuver is going to have, like, 15.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's why I was saying another one that I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
In order to get your opinion of it, yeah.
I like that.
I wasn't saying, like, instead. I was just saying, like, and another one I was thinking of. But yeah, sounds good to me.
A really expensive feat upgrade could be where it only costs 1 point of either vigor or willpower. Would probably require both of the previous ones.
Maybe somewhere down the line, yeah. That's something that I want to be careful about, because that is very powerful.
Indeed.
Yeah,
But it's certainly something that we can consider.
Yeah, I'll put it in there. With
Yep.
a question mark.
Works for me. Alright.
I have begun to make notes in the feats section for potential feats, by the way. I'm not going to put them into the table until we have a more solid list of them, just because the formatting is annoying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright. Okay. So, list of...
Well, so vigor and willpower both represent, they both represent different parts of your person. So it's not really a maintaining of vigor or willpower. It's willpower also is also part of your overall health. There's a reason why all of your attributes go to your HP.
Yep.
All right, let me mark this. You know, do the highlighting stuff.
But yeah, in our stat explanations for attributes, it does specify that vigor and will are like considered representations and culminations of your mind, body, and soul.
Yep.
All right. I went ahead and marked in the to-do list second wind and maneuvers down as completed.
Cool.
Yeah, Rex. There's a reason that they're considered secondary attributes. It's something that generally you won't really think about much in the actual like roll-to-roll thing until they come up, and all of a sudden they're like the most impactful thing ever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they are considered secondary, even though they're like, you know, just as important. It's just in a different way. They don't form the basis of any sort of roll normally. It's considered a very special thing for something to check your vigor or will, particularly. But when it does, it's generally because this is like something special.
Mhm.
Like, for example, when I was having Jet mess with his aura, that was, for him, a willpower roll. But, like, I think that's probably the only thing I've even asked for will or vigor for, is the aura-related stuff in Starlight, I think, right now. But yeah, no, it's very uncommon for it to be particularly asked for. It's something special. But to make up for that, they have very, very meaningful effects that they are utilized for. Like, you might not think of your vigor that much, but the moment that, like, you know, you're sitting on extremely low health and you have to wait a little bit before going through floors, all of a sudden having some vigor is very nice for you in terms of taking a 10-minute breather rest and like being able to like get back some health before moving on.
Hello there, Fetch.
Fetch cute.
That is good. All right. So on our list of things,
The next thing I want to go over is movement.
movement. All right, cool.
So what I am thinking of changing it to, because we've got our special movement varieties, but I have a big emphasis on equality between players. I always have that. And so I want to come up with a way to make it where it is even across the board for everyone. You know, whether you're moving on the land or flying or whatever the case may be, I want to make sure that it all equals the same.
All right.
The only exception on that, real quick, would be movements like climbing and swimming, where, you know, by default you can move half of your land speed when you're climbing or swimming. So in that case, the baseline would be like 15, and then It adjusts from there.
Okay. Well, one thing I want to be, like, forgive, like, the reference and pun a little bit. There's a reason there's a difference between travel time normally and travel time as the crow flies.
And travel time is what?
A common saying, at least where I come from, is, like, when you ask, like, how far something is or how long it'll take, it's either, like, actually getting there or as the crow flies, which is saying, like, ignoring obstacles.
Ah,
Because it's literally a saying. I'm not trying to, like, reference Vane or anything. It's literally called as the crow flies.
Yeah, I've
makes
heard
sense.
it.
Yeah. So, like, I get your focus on equality, but I also think that it's a little bit weird to say that having a movement type that completely ignores obstacles, like, you know, for example, like, probably digging, also, like, having a dig speed would basically ignore the obstacle, because the thing is that you're able to go through the obstacle. Or flying, or possibly even, like, maybe not hovering, because you have to still go around obstacles, but, you know, it just a little bit awkward trying to say that they all move at the exact same rate magically somehow, even though one is ignoring obstacles and the other one is having to go around them.
What I'm referring to is the total. So, like, what I'm wanting to come up with is a system where they can determine the movement that they have available to them, but it'll always equal to 30. So, like, in the case of Vane, you might do 15 land, 15 fly, which can be combined with the movement maneuver. So that way you can still do the full 30. And then things like climbing, which, you know, everybody's capable of climbing, just at half speed. Thus, if you have a natural climb speed like Scruff has, you might have 25 land speed and then 20 climb speed for the 5 extra on top of the baseline 15. If that makes sense.
I think I get what you're saying.
I'm not getting it, because I don't know what the point is. If it's like, you know, you have 15 here and 15 here, but what if someone has 15 here and 30 here, and if you combine it, that's 45? That isn't going to equal out with someone just walking normally at 30. I don't think I'm getting the point you're trying to make. So could you just, like, try and rephrase it slightly so that way maybe it'll click this time?
I'm not sure where you're getting 30 from.
Well, because you just gave an example where Scruff had 25 and 20, for example. Like, that combined would be 45.
So in that case, those ones are special because they're half your standard speed. They are half your movement.
Okay, yeah, I get that. In exchange, like, you know, you have them, like, you can move at half, but you do have to roll to successfully, you know, because athletics. So, I mean, I get that, but I just don't, something just isn't clicking with me right now here. So I was just asking.
Alternative is just everything equals to 30, and for climbing and swimming, it's just whatever speed you've got in there is what you can move without needing to make a check. Because, yeah, for climbing, for normal people, they have to make a check, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, look, that makes sense to me, I get that. I'm just... Because, like, one of the examples you use is that Vane having, like, 15 and 15, but, like, I'm just a little bit confused on what if it's not 15 and 15 exactly making 30.
Why wouldn't it be?
Because he has more fly speed than land movement speed.
Okay, so he's got, you know, he's got whatever, as long as it adds up to 30.
Okay, but what if he, like, has a modifier that makes him go above 30? Does he just not get to use it?
I don't know what you're talking about. I am talking about defaults.
Oh, okay. Alright, because I thought that you were talking right now about, like, calculating the overland, because that was the first thing we talked about, like, that's why I brought up, like, the difference between...
No, I am talking about combat movement.
Oh, okay, because the first one on the list was the, adventure movement, so that's what I was thinking of, and that's why I was so fucking confused. I'm like, wait, what? Excuse-moi, what the fuck? Alright. Okay, so, just for reference, why do you want it to be, like, this, as opposed to how we had it before, where if you have, like, a special type, it defaults to 15, but you can make a special type your quote-unquote primary type in exchange for your other one moving down to 15? Like your normal land movement.
I want to make things even. I want to make them equal.
Alright, but in that case, why are you making Vane half as fast as everyone else?
He's not.
He has 15 land and 15 fly.
Which can be used together for a total of 30.
Well, yeah, but it means that he is only able to fly for 3 seconds at a time. And every single turn he has to land again.
Okay. How do you suggest making it as even as possible for all players?
I was fine with the idea
Because you're
that...
poking holes in this, but not giving a solution.
I was fine with how it originally was, where if you have a special type, it starts at 15, but you could choose to make it your primary type in exchange for your normal land movement being 15. This means that if your special movement type ever gets disabled for some reason, like, you know, there's a trade-off for it, for you getting that special movement type as your primary. Because I think that is a perfectly fine way of handling it. Where
So that is not how it worked before.
Well, technically speaking, you were able to break it up even more, but the way that it did work before originally was that you were able to... it was a specific thing, because I checked, where you were able to make another movement type 30 in exchange for your land movement going down to 15. And being considered secondary. That was a thing in the rules for, like, a very long time. Because, like, I'm just trying to think about, like, you know, like, if a character mainly moves around, like, how a Diglett would move. Like, and they generally would be, like, having a dig speed. And then they, you know, dig a little bit, then pop back up. Or having someone that, like, you know, maybe it's aquatically based for the game, and then so they have, like, a bunch of water types that are going around with swim speeds. Or maybe there's a character that flies, like Vane, or some other vague bird, like anything. And it seems very awkward to make them be half as fast if they want to use their primary, like, quote-unquote primary, compared to everything else. Because, for example, if we do this, then that means that you would need to have a swim speed, and you could only use half of your swim speed naturally, and then... Or you could only use 15 feet of your swim speed naturally, and you'd need to somehow have your land speed make up the other 15 of it, but there's no land around because you're in water, so now you're just moving half as fast.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't really make sense to try and equalize that, because because creatures that would have specialized in a specialized movement, they will usually go faster in said movement than if they were to walk.
Well, not even just that, like, even if it's just as fast as people normally walking, it's just also, like, it feels very weird to, for example, like, you know, require that a bird land every 3 seconds and then run the rest of the way, and then they can fly again. Or say that a fish can only swim for 3 seconds if they want to have their full movement.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what we'll do then is the total will be... you can choose a primary movement. Other than... Like, it'll have to make sense with the storyteller, obviously.
Yep.
That one will be set to 30. Then your land speed would be set to 15. If you do not have a special movement, then you will get 45.
That
For
honestly,
land.
honestly, that sounds fine by me.
Alright, I'm just trying to think about that, because 45, what does that mean in terms of a lot of things? Because I'm trying to keep track of things, and if you have 45 feet of movement, that would make playing a ranged character a lot harder.
How so?
Because you get attack of opportunity if you use a ranged move while in someone's melee range, and this means that melee characters can close the gap 50% faster than they previously could.
Ah. Yeah, that's true.
And another thing that I want to consider is that if you do have a special movement type, you have to do things like if you want armor, you have to get it customized to fit you.
Things
And
that
that costs a
just
lot.
simply requires money isn't something that I want to consider.
Yeah. It's just more like it goes into the overall.
I'm not worried about when it comes to something that just requires money. I'm going to completely ignore that as part of balance.
I am
Because-
not.
That's fine and all, but I am wanting to make the base characters as even as possible because coming up with money can very often be very easy.
Well, yes, but it's still something to be considered. I'm not saying it should be a primary thing, but it is something that still needs to be considered if it's in our rules that they have to pay this extra cost every time they want armor or anything like that, or otherwise they can't use their special movement type. It's not something that I want as a primary consideration, but it's also not something that you just ignore.
Okay, but how are we going to balance for somebody that's got, somebody that is strictly land versus somebody that can fly? Because if you have a specialized movement type, it can replace your default movement land speed as applicable. Well, I mean, we still want them to we want them to have some form of land movement speed because we're going to need rules on that, Stradivarian. And we still want a balance here because flying is more powerful than just, somebody having to just walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, which it is. I'm just also trying to make sure that whatever we decide isn't going to completely upend other things.
Flying is usually busted in most TTRPGs.
Yeah.
So we want to figure out a balance here. And there are times where your specialized movement may not be available.
Yeah. For example, it's entirely possible that if there's inclement weather, congratulations, you can't fly.
Yeah.
you're in the middle of a massive like thunderstorm. There's howling winds. You aren't flying in that. So there needs to be like a rule for like, okay, well, how fast can they walk without, using their flying?
It should obviously be less than creatures that can only walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be less, and we need to make sure that those that are stuck on on the land don't feel like they are being penalized because they chose a creature that is not capable of flight.
It's honestly.
I
It's on,
Go ahead.
you talk first. No, you talk first.
Idea. What if you're using a specialized movement type? You can only sprint it 3 times instead of 4 times.
We could go for that.
Because, like, part of the reason that, like, you're able to build up speed and sprint really fast is because, like, you're literally picking up momentum and using the ground as leverage. And if you're not doing that, then it makes sense that you can't, like, get up to as much of a top speed.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That is definitely a good step in balancing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So make it so that way you can only sprint it 3 times instead of 4 times if you're using a specialized movement type.
Alternatively, an idea that I got just now is tying special movement into intrinsic feats. Basically putting in a feat tax. Like, yeah, you're playing a bird, but you being able to fly is going to cost you one of those intrinsic feats you get at character creation.
Yeah, just one thing to consider about that is that then do they keep their 30-foot normal movement if they're paying an entire feat to get access to this? Because an intrinsic feat slot is very big. And making them pay an intrinsic feat slot, that has a lot of opportunity cost associated with it. It's not exactly like it's something that, like, you can go, this sets me behind a bit on XP, but unfortunate, but I think it's worth it for my character. Instead, this is like, okay, well, I get access to this, but, like, look at all this other stuff I'm giving up by using the slot.
Well, yes, but it's one of those that it's a trade-off, because you could get a lot of stuff from having the intrinsic feat, but at the same time, you're getting a lot of options from being able to fly.
Yeah, I was about to say, I guess it depends how valuable we think fly is, and it is very freaking valuable.
Yeah,
Is it valuable enough to be an intrinsic feat?
Yeah, but we're also trying to consider all of the different movement types that aren't just flying. We're also trying to consider... I'm considering, like, characters that choose, like, having a dig speed, for example. Like, that'll be a very feels bad if it's like, okay, you can dig around, but, like, that kind of feels bad, man, if you're using up a whole intrinsic feat for it. It's more reasonable, like, if you're looking at it from perspective of someone gaining access to flight, because that is very powerful, but a dig speed... not as much.
Yeah, I was about to say, flying is always going to be the problem. The other types of special movements aren't as readily available. So, but then again, just making fly the intrinsic feat would sound unfair. So yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum.
What we could do is give other buffs for using that intrinsic feat for the special movement, like maybe with the dig you get an extra HP. With yes, go ahead, Sky, though keep it on topic, please.
Yeah, having the feet also come with other bonuses doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Yeah,
Because
it's like flight doesn't come with anything, but, you know, if you're going with burrow, that could give you some other form of buff in addition to the, burrow speed. Um, Hovering slash floating, that basically is flight as well.
well,
Um,
well, kind of depends on whether like if you can only like hover. If like, you can like if only it depends on whether you can only hover a few feet off the ground or can you actually just make it levitate because there's different kinds of hovering.
Are we talking natural flight or magical flight?
Yes.
yes.
It doesn't matter which kind it's flight.
So, when it comes to hover versus flight, hovering is slower than flight. However, when you're hovering, when it comes to flying, you have to move to maintain. You can't just stay in one space, unless, of course, you're riding on a wind or something where it's blowing you back as fast as you're, flying forward.
Yeah.
But as far as just staying in place, you can't do that with flight, whereas with hover, you can, but on the flip side, it is slower than flight.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they're the same. You've got the same amount of... I am echoing off of someone really bad.
Oh shit, that might be me then. Hold on, because I'm on my phone. Sorry, I'll see if I can do push to talk or something for one moment here. Apologies. Or I'll just...
Yes, Stradivarian. Flight and hover are different. That is actually a rather standard thing for tabletop games. Hover allows you to stay in one place. You do not have to move to stay in that spot. Whereas flight, you would have to move at least one square per turn in order to stay afloat.
Mm-hmm.
But again, on the flip side, you can, you've got that whole moving. You've got the full range of movement with hover versus flight.
Yeah. Hover is more flexible, but flight is faster, basically.
Exactly.
Also, hover doesn't care as much about things like, inclement effects.
Okay, I will be right back. I need to go rinse out a bottle thing.
Okay.
And then, I guess I should ask, how complicated does he actually want to have this? Because, are we talking, as far as for movement, you have to do, 5 feet forward in order to achieve 5 feet of lift, kind of
We're not
thing?
doing that.
Okay. We're not doing that complicated.
Because technically speaking, if you're a bird, you don't have to technically go forward in order to, gain altitude.
Fair.
And also, this includes both physical and magical. We already said it includes magical. Why would you need to, have lift if you're doing something magical? You could just fucking go straight up.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I understand that for magical. That would be more for, natural, or more, I'm sorry, for magical, it'd be more for, a natural flight, but yeah, no, if...
Natural doesn't even require it either. You're not exactly a plane, so...
Yeah. But I mean, on the other hand, how crazy do you want to be able to let people be with, being able to just go vertical or as, up or down, though?
If you want to fly 30 feet straight up, I mean, you can, but that's, like, you're staying in the same thing, technically, so,
So when it comes to that, my thought process on it is, it doesn't matter if you're going straight up, forward, whatever, as long as there's still movement. If you're talking about... So while most tabletop games don't, most VTTs and whatnot, you got a 2D map. But technically, when you're considering things like flight, you're actually talking about 5-foot cubes. Rather than, you're talking about 5-foot cubes rather than a 2D plane. So as long as you're moving up, you could move up 5 feet, you could move forward 5 feet, whatever the case may be. But that's what allows you to maintain your movement, or it allows you to maintain flight.
Yep. So, I'm fine with the idea of, like, it costing an intrinsic feat, like, so long as the weaker movement types such as dig that, like, or burrow, but, like, dig, that you have, like, you can't use that on the second floor of a building, for example, unless you, like, just want to go down a floor instantly and take that fall damage. So, like, I just don't want them to be completely kneecapped by having to take an intrinsic feat that, like, for all accounts, isn't exactly going to be the most useful thing. Stradivarian, anything that's not melee. So you could hit them with conditions, you can hit them with physical, you can hit them with special, so long as it's, like, a ranged weapon or a move that has range on it.
However, being able to reach them is another matter altogether.
I thought that when something has reach, it's still considered melee, just a little bit of a longer range.
Yeah, no, they meant, like, to reach a flying character that is currently flying. Stradivari, because currently we don't have any rules that require that if you get hit while flying to make a check or fall.
Yeah, if you get hit, it's not going to knock you out of the skies.
Yeah. Now, if you get hit with something like restrained, which disables your movement, that's a different matter.
Yes. Which I think restrained is the only one that actually does that.
Well, yeah, but, we're going to be doing other conditions, and one of the other condition things is, like, frozen.
Yeah.
So let's, like, it's the only one right now, but it's not going to be the only thing.
But either way, we do have very limited options when it comes to, you do have very limited options when it comes to actually knocking a flyer out of the sky.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is, fuck, what do we call it? Drawn.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, drawn.
You can if you get like a crit like on a stage 2 draw, turning it to stage 3, you literally pull them straight out of the sky with enough force to cause damage.
That's true.
Which I will put in a note on that real quick.
Yeah, another one is Berserk because it forces them to hit the nearest thing with strike, and unless there's another flyer, they're going to fly down in order to hit things.
Yeah, but Those are more situational ones and don't necessarily mean that they are out of the sky.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying, like, there's ways to get them out of the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's items that storytellers can add, just like how Pathfinder has like tango nets and stuff that you could use. Like something like that, if you hit with that, you could,
Yeah.
knock somebody out of the sky with that.
Yep.
Mhm.
I am putting
Technically-
a note on Drawn that they will not be subject to fall damage.
Okay.
But they will still be affected by that 2d10 plus 1 for movement itself. Hey there, Era.
Also,
Era.
Stradivarian, we do have a called shot mechanic, but not in the traditional sense. Called shots and describing how you're going to hit something in an impactful way is under the creative solutions. So you'll get some extra dice to roll on your attack, but it doesn't necessarily, like, there's no enforced called shot things where it's like, you can attack someone's head at this penalty or whatever. It's just narratively, like, if you attack a flyer's wings, you're likely to get, like, some extra dice to throw, and narratively it might have some impact.
Yeah, we have what we call the creative solutions system. That's in chapter 1 of the book. It is a general rule that is applicable to everything.
Yep.
And it, by default, it just grants you extra dice, but the storyteller can allow extra effects if they choose.
Yep. Other things that would affect a flyer, stage 2 of Sealed makes all actions go up a stage, so they have to use a full action every single round to maintain their flight. Having 2 stun stacks on you will mean that you can't maintain your flight, so you're just straight up going to fall.
True.
Mhm.
And yeah, no worries, Era. I like the idea of the intrinsic feat, though.
Yeah.
I'm thinking default land movement of 30 for everyone.
Yep.
And then the intrinsic feat can add in special movement.
Now, does it just add in, or does it let you replace your primary? Or would they both have the same speeds of, like, 30 and 30?
I suppose it would make more sense where they would replace.
Alright, in that case...
We could also have ones where they are secondary. You know, the whole intrinsic feat for movement would be, they could get they could replace, they can either have it be primary or secondary, and then they get a buff with it. If it's their secondary movement. Like in the case of Squirrel, flying would be his secondary movement, but he still has access to it. So he'd probably get a buff versus Vane, where it would be replacing his primary. Yes, there are going to be feats to increase your various types of movement, Stradivarian. Those are not going to be intrinsic feats.
Yep.
Also, as far as buying movement, I don't really want to go that route. I kind of want to keep that to feats.
Alright. Also, if we're already putting it in as a feat tax, are we going to keep the whole can only sprint it 3 times? If we're already feat taxing them, I'm a little iffy on that now.
I personally still say so.
I'm really iffy on that because if they're having to spend an entire intrinsic feat slot, they only get 2 of those at the start. Likely they're only going to have, like, maybe 4 or 5 of the things throughout the entire game. If you're already going to have to use up one of your, like, hyper rare limited slots, I'm a little bit wary about making people be unable to use it to sprint at full speed. Because I just, like, if we're only going to have, like, 4 or 5 of the things, like, because you start with 2 at the beginning, and then generally you only get them when you evolve. So maybe 2, maybe 3 evolution stages throughout the game.
Will there be other
That means that maybe 4 or 5
in the
future.
Please don't use the cards for asking questions. Just use the chat. Will there be other things to spend merits on in the future? No. Those are strictly spent on expertise.
Yep. But I'm just wary about it because if we only have 4 or 5 of the things, like, that is a very rare slot to take up, and if we're taxing it at a feat level with a limited feat slot that they can't get with XP, then it's going to be something that's going to drive a lot of people away from ever picking up a special movement type, because not only are you having to spend one of your hyper rare slots on it, you're also being forced to be slower at sprinting with it.
Yeah, I see what others is saying.
Instead of intrinsic feat, we'll make it a regular feat.
Alright, then, yeah, I'm fine with the sprint being slower. That way, if they want to, like, get back to having it be, like, sprint at full speed, it'll probably be, like, a feat to pick up the thing, and then probably another feat, and then maybe even a third to, like, get it back up to 4 times. That's a fair amount of XP, like, being put into it that I think is perfectly fine to have that downside. Carcerus, so sprinting in combat hasn't come up the most right now, mostly because we literally just made the sprinting feature.
Yes. And even
but
then...
Yeah,
go ahead.
I have seen people take double movement actions, though, which was like the precursor to sprinting.
Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna update the sprint sub-maneuver. If you are using a special movement type, then you may only sprint at 3 times. Your normal movement speed. I'm just making it easier on me and making the whole section green.
Yeah, that's fair. I know that you tend to do that, so that's fine.
Alright, so let me go up to feats and make notes for that. Movement, or special movement feats. And that way you'll also be able to take it at character creation, but it is a feat tax.
Yep. Which I am perfectly fine with.
So then, by default, every creature has a land movement speed of 30 feet per round. And then if they want to get special movements, we'll figure out what the feats are for that.
Yep. Stradivarian, we do not currently have a standardized XP cost for feats because they are not implemented.
I will say that feats... I am debating on the cost for feats. Part of me wants to go with different costs each, ranging from... I've been thinking 10 to 20 XP each. They'll be in increments of 10, 15, or 20. And then... and that's basically what I've got in mind for that.
Alright. Well, we will need to be careful about certain feat upgrades and then, like, putting them behind trees then, because, like, for example, the brace, getting rid of chip damage, that should not be available at only 20 XP.
Agreed.
Yeah. But, yeah, if it's 10 to 20, then we're going to have to make sure that, you know, certain things are appropriately locked behind a tree.
And there is also the fact of prerequisites as well, because...
Yeah, but that's why I said put it behind a tree.
Yeah. And in particular, things like special movements, those are going... The prerequisite there is just going to be storyteller approval.
Yeah. Yeah. But, so, are we good to start working on at least some of the condition stuff?
Yeah, we can do that.
Alright. As, you know, while this is important, I do want to, like I said, like, get working on at least some of the stuff to do with that. Because, the move update is kind of contingent on us having this ready, so...
Alright.
Luckily, we already took care of the battle conditions, and now we just have to go after persistent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be right back for a moment. I'll be back in a bit.
Alright.
Okay, Rex.
Yep, just make sure to keep it focused on Scar.
Before we move on to persistent conditions, I do want your opinion on one thing.
Yep.
Where should I put exhaustion rules?
Exhaustion, I was thinking, would probably go under...
Part of me was thinking maybe Chapter 1 under the general rules, where the soul boost and creative solutions are.
Yeah, either that or, maybe a bit after... That's probably the best place to put it. The other one that I was thinking of would be, under the, what was it? There was one that I had in mind, but I wasn't quite... I was also thinking about having a little, like, side section in things like adventuring about it, because, you know, adventuring is supposed to be the primary way of getting exhaustion points. It's just that you've been, you know, fairly sedentary in most games.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I could see it being under adventuring.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be, you know, all the travel and all that, but...
Well, no, because exhaustion is, you know, pushing your character beyond its normal limits.
Yeah. Well, because one of the things that we originally were talking about with it was that not like walking through a forest like on a trail, but like having to go through like a bit of like difficult terrain or whatever would incur exhaustion. That's why moving around while overburdened also gives you exhaustion.
I think it would be, considering it has so many different parts, so many different sections that feed into it. I think we'll put it under in chapter 1.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's why I was saying like that was one of the first ones I thought of. That's why I was saying the other one was adventuring, because that's supposed to be one of the more common ways of obtaining it randomly.
Okay. Alright, so that aside, where is... Here they are. Alright. So, first things first, we've got Burn.
Yep. I think one of the first things to talk about is the proposal that I put forward towards damaging conditions.
Run me through that again.
So the proposal that I had for damaging conditions, at least on the amount of damage that it does, is that it rolls an amount of damage dice equal to the amount that you have surpassed the target soul save by. So, like, for example, if you roll 7 successes and they have a soul save of 4, they'll be rolling 3 damage dice every single turn until they can get it cleansed. And this would bypass integrity, but it would just be, like, that amount of dice. And what I was thinking is that as intensity raises, maybe it starts at 7 and goes down, maybe it starts at, like, 8 and then goes down to 6. Like, in terms of difficulty number that it looks for.
You mean for resisting it?
No, for the amount, like, what the damage dice looks for. Like, this is specifically for the damage of it.
Okay. So if you roll past, it does... you roll 3 successes over what their save is.
Yeah.
It'll be, yeah, I guess we
That
should...
many dice. Yeah.
Okay. And then it'll look for 8s for doing damage?
That was my initial proposal, is that it starts at 8, and then whatever, because, we're keeping the 3 intensity conditions. At intensity 1, it does 8s, at intensity 2, it does 7s, and at intensity 3, it does 6s. Alternatively, we could have it start at 7 and go down, or we could have it start at 9 and go down. It's,
I like the 8. The 8
That's what I was
feels
thinking.
Good.
8 felt the best, for me at least. Obviously, this could be strong, or it could be, like, basically nothing. But, like, if you get nuked with, like, a 15 success, like, condition while you don't have a good soul save, I mean, that's going to be pretty brutal. But I feel like that also should be, because, like, if you get hit with a 15 damage attack while you have, like, 4 integrity, that's going to be a hefty damn hit. Stradivarian, I don't know what you're asking. But yeah, so how do you feel about that, just in general?
I like that. I think for increasing the intensity, it will not be a stacking thing for how many successes over, but it will be a replacement situation. So, like, if the first time you roll, it'll take whichever's highest.
I was about to say, yeah, whatever's highest.
So, first time to apply a burn, it'll do, you get 5 successes over their save. Then the second time you apply for intensity 2, you only get 3 successes over, it'll still do the 5.
Yes. But instead, if you get 7, it'll now do 7. That's what I was thinking would be the mechanic, yeah. It wouldn't be additive, because that would be insane.
Yeah.
And because this is based off of, the damage is directly scaling with your success level, it won't do the thing that we were talking about for other ones, where if you get a quote-unquote crit against the soul save on a non-damaging condition, it'll go up in intensity. Because this is directly affecting your damage.
Give me a moment to type before we continue with that.
Yes.
Alright, damage is based on successes over saves. They are dot based. If score 3 successes over save, 3 dot are done in damage. Yeah. Increasing intensity replaces with highest, so if 3 over on first and 2 over on second, it will remain the 3. Starts at difficulty 8.
Alright, I'm just gonna quickly put, reduce...
Yeah.
Alright. So, burn. I'm fine if it starts at 1, where it just starts dealing damage. 2 is where physical abilities, like... do we want it to be focused on damage or accuracy?
I say damage.
Damage. Alright, I'm fine if it does, intensity 1, it only does the damage. Intensity 2, it has +1 difficulty for physical abilities. And for tier 3, it goes to increase difficulty by 2. That way, if you're doing something where it's already difficulty 9, it goes up to difficulty 10, and then difficulty 11, which means 10s won't even crit. So if you've got max stacked burn on you and you're a physical character, and you're attacking something at double resist whatever you're using, then it'll basically get you to the max penalty that you can get.
Okay. Are we going to have the damage being dealt increased regardless of stage, regardless of other effects on each stage or each intensity? Or do we want the additional effects to supersede it? So like in this case, stage 1, it's difficulty 8 damage per turn for, the based on above. And then stage 2 increases physical damage difficulty by 1. And then, but thus it does not increase the difficulty on damage per turn. It's still D8. And then stage 3, intensity 3, could have it go up to, or have the difficulty 7 on damage per turn.
Maybe, but I don't know if that will be confusing compared to just reduced difficulty on by 1 for each additional intensity.
Okay, so everything is just reduced difficulty. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking that that would be like our standard for if it's a damaging condition. That way it'll be the same if it's burn, if it's like, frostbite, if it's poison. Like, this is the standard. Because I do like having things at least reasonably standardized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sounds good. Alright, so at stage 2 it increases difficulty for physical damage by 1.
Yep. And then stage 3 could just go up to increasing it by 2. I think that these are going to be powerful, but more narrowly focused. Because I feel like most of the combat conditions are going to be very, they're less focused and more generally useful. I think, because, for example, blind just straight up all accuracy checks. Or, doing something like fear. It is more generally useful. These, I feel like, should be more, focused, I guess I feel like saying. What do you think?
Sounds good.
That way, even though they deal damage and have, additional effects, they aren't as... They're going to be at about the same power level as combat conditions. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and... Because we still have them called battle conditions on the character sheet. I'll go ahead and swap that over to combat. Or maybe do you want to call them scene? Because they only last for a scene.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, I changed it to scene conditions.
Alright, and then resist with...
I feel like this is going to be integrity or acrobatics? Or athletics, one of the two? What do you think?
I like acrobatics for it, and... yeah, integrity sounds good.
I feel like a lot of the damaging ones are going to check integrity.
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna keep the whole, Dow's tag and things like that.
No. That's gonna be a creative solutions thing.
Yeah. As well as the assist maneuver.
Yeah.
Do we want to keep it where... no, we're gonna not have them counteract each other at all.
Yeah, no. Again, that seems like creative solution.
Yeah. Stradivarian, athletics, you mean there, versus acrobatics? No, I actually think acrobatics would make most sense. Acrobatics is more dexterity-based things, and athletics is more strength.
Yeah.
So, with acrobatics, it's stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah. That's why I said it originally, but then I'm also like, I could see a case for athletics, but yeah, acrobatics is definitely my first choice for it. All right. So do we want to keep desiccated?
Could you do me a favor and cross these out as we go, by the way?
Yep, I will.
It's on my second monitor, so it's a little tricky to pull that off.
Yep, that's fine. I got 3 up, so. All right. Do we want to keep desiccated?
I kind of like it.
Yep. I'm a little bit wary about the exhaustion, but just straight up like reducing speed just consistently. I don't know if that feels like it's enough. What if it also reduced... Maybe... Do we want it to do... How do we feel about the speed portion of it?
I like it reducing speed.
All
You
right.
get more sluggish when you're dehydrated.
Do we also want it to reduce evasion then? Or maybe reduce the difficulty of hitting you. Like, in addition to the speed.
I'm feeling like that might be too much.
Yeah. Alright, maybe just... Because the thing is that, like, I feel like the speed isn't quite enough. We could always make this a cheaper one, too, I guess.
Yeah. Especially
'Cause I'm-
because it's easily overcome by... Oh, crap, they hit me with desiccated. Pull out my, my canteen and drink some water.
Yeah, that does eat up an action, but yeah. It would only reduce it by 1 stage.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I feel like this will definitely be, like, a very... I think this will have a good place as being a very cheap status effect or condition to put on someone. This will probably be very cheap to pick up. It's really good for an early damaging condition because it'll be cheap. You can apply it, like, pretty easily. And overall, if they have it on them, it's just kind of useful. It deals damage and it makes them slower. I mean, it's hard to hate that.
Yeah, exactly.
I do feel like it doesn't have, like, a lot of oomph, but it does have, like, if it's a cheaper one, it has a different draw to it. Because EXP efficiency is always nice.
Yeah. Plus, you know, it is reducing their movement speed. So you could, you know, at stage 3, you are literally leaving them unable to move anywhere. Unless, of course, they've gotten feet upgrades, but that's a thing. That's a different matter.
Well, you gotta remember that every stage decrease is 5 speed.
Was it 5?
Yeah, it's 5. It's initiative.
Oh, right,
that's
it's initiative
10.
that's 10. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, in that
but
case...
this will have their speed at this thing.
I would say we do it minus 2 speed then minus 4
4,
and
6.
minus 6, yeah. So at stage 3, you just cannot move.
Oh, another side thing. This means that stage 2 desiccated against someone that doesn't have any feat upgrades for speed means people in heavy armor can't move. Well, they could always take a
Yeah.
5-foot step, but like they can't move.
Yeah, very true. Hey there, Ito. Squeaky.
This also means that it's very good against heavy armor users. Which, completely dehydrating and exhausting somebody is literally how you used to be able to beat people that are in heavy armor, so burr. But we also want to... Are all persistent conditions going to be damaging?
I mean, if we're putting that in... Let me look over it in just a moment.
Yeah. Because we have it dealing damage in the previous version.
Wait, what's damaging?
Desiccated.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't put that it includes damaging, unlike burn, where you put stage 1 damage per turn.
Well, that was more because we had no other effect on burn. So let me take a look here. All right. Diseased is a...
Yep.
Okay,
we might want to make that its own little section.
Yeah.
But for desiccated, do we want it to be damage dealing like it is?
Yes.
All right.
I think we're gonna have a separate section that are long-term conditions, and that's where diseased and wound will go in.
Yeah. But I do think that persistent conditions is fine to just say that, like, if it's in persistent condition, it's considered damage dealing.
Yes. That's what I'm thinking there. That's why I'm wanting to separate out the diseased.
Yep.
So yeah. Desiccated is good.
Marking it off.
Resist. Drink water. Hydrate or dihydrate.
Hydrate or dihydrate.
I am definitely putting that in the final draft.
I'm fine keeping that, yeah.
Do we want to let them roll something if they don't have access to water, or do we want to just have it be hydrate or dihydrate?
Honestly, it's cheap. If it's just hydrate or dihydrate, I'm fine with that.
Okay, we'll do that. All right.
If the storyteller wants to have there be actual things, they can go ahead and add it in. But I'm fine with the default being hydrate or dihydrate.
All right.
Stradivarian. So we do have it listed in the actual thing that we're going to be pulling from. To overcome this, the afflicted needs water or some other form of hydration as is appropriate for their species. Even fire and ground types require some hydration. Water type abilities and other ones do not adequately resolve this status effect, as the water generated from them is temporary. It can lessen the effects for a time, though. Basically, it allows you to have a little temporary narrative solution without it actually fixing the problem.
Yeah, in the move section, which if you could add this to the to-do list, just a note for me. In the move section, we will be specifying that things generated by moves are exceedingly temporary. So, you're using water gun, it's not actually... The water's not going to stay there. It will be gone at the end of the scene.
Yep. Which has always been the case. Like, for things like Vayne, like making sure to pick up his feathers, like after what he did last night, for example, that is just him not wanting it to be discovered before they fucking disappear. He doesn't have his bag just, like, completely filled up with his own feathers. It's just more like clean up.
Yeah, those are all temporary things, Stradivarian. like, something along the lines of weather effects would be efficient for this, because that is actually changing the weather itself. But as far as, you know, just shooting water gun into their mouth, that's not going to work.
Yeah. I went ahead and put things generated from moves are temporary and will disappear or disintegrate at the end of a scene in the to-do list.
Cool.
All right.
Alright, I put in here long-term conditions. They cannot be removed with the cleanse maneuver.
Yes, that is fine.
But they don't.
What about second wind?
Ooh, or second wind, yeah.
All right. Up at second wind, I'm gonna edit it to say scene or persistent conditions.
Sounds good. And double check the wording on cleanse to make sure that's good, please.
Yep. Cool. All. The second wind maneuver can also be used as a reaction or quick action in order to remove all scene conditions and persistent conditions to currently affecting your character, as well as reset all your stat changes to 0.
Sounds good.
And cleanse. Where are you, cleanse? There you are. 1. And I went ahead and updated cleanse to say you're able to attempt to resist one scene condition or persistent condition, reduce a negative stat change towards 0 by 1 stage, or attempt to resist a damage over time effect.
Welcome back, Era.
Welcome back.
For disease,
Both of them should be updated.
Alright. For disease, I think I'm just going to copy-paste the existing stuff for now.
That sounds fine. We're not going to be changing that, really.
Yeah, it's something that's gonna need some more work on it.
Yep. The base idea is fine, though, and that's what we're going to go with. It's just going to be the details.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and just...
We'll worry about going through disease later and probably give some example diseases for stuff.
Yeah, it'll be its own little section.
Yeah.
Probably under the adventure section. Maybe. Nah, we'll just keep it under long-term conditions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, long-term conditions...
We'll reference it in adventure section and say where it's at.
Long-term conditions, we're only going to have diseased and wound right now, so
Yeah.
no sense in splitting it up elsewhere.
Yeah. Alright. Next up is going to be Drowsy. Do we want to keep Drowsy?
Well, first off, Drowsy definitely would not cause damage,
Yeah.
but all of these should cause damage.
Yeah.
Personally,
I think what Drowsy mostly was doing, I feel like we kind of already have that covered by things like Distracted.
yeah. I think we'll I think we're gonna do away with Drowsy and just have Sleep.
Yeah.
And Sleep can cause damage in that it will be a, sleep will be, it'll specifically be a restless sleep, rather than just,
Yeah.
I'm just
I was
taking a
thinking-
nap.
Yeah, I was thinking that it could be something where, like, you know, it would be something similar to, like, you know, literally draining the vitality out them so they pass out for a bit.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing, yeah.
Honestly, I only added Drowsy in the first place because Pokemon has that condition, and
Yeah.
it just, I've never been fond of it. It's like, why did you add in another condition when it basically just winds up turning into sleep anyways?
Yep. Alright, Frostbite.
I do like
basically, Frostbite burn, but for special.
that. Yeah. I did like having that one.
I do like Frostbite. Frostbite is a good one.
And of course, when we do get to the move section, we're gonna say that any move can apply any of these conditions. Because
it just depends on the flavoring.
yeah.
Because, like, you know, it makes perfect sense that, like, you know, like, let's just say, like, for more Pokemon, that you could have an ice move that applies burn because, like, you know, maybe not, like, Frostbite entirely, but, like, you know, you could get Freezer Burn.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah. Basically, any type can apply all of this shit. It just depends on the actual, you know, thematics of it. I will say, though, that I think that most of these conditions, necrotic users are going to go fucking ham on that.
Oh,
Yeah, because of the thematic behind necrotic. Anyone
yeah.
playing something necrotic is probably going to, like, just straight up, like, salivate over these persistent status effects.
Oh, something that we should probably put in. So, something that just occurred to me.
Yep.
What if somebody has both a burn and frostbite? Or do we want to have them be stacking damage? I personally say no.
I say no. I say that you get the negative effects, but the damage is, again, just based off of the highest damage, like,
Yeah.
thing on the person.
Now, what about intensities? Will those stack or just be the highest intensity one?
I think it just tracks the highest intensity.
Sounds good. Let me put that in here.
Yeah, and just while we're at it, one thing that I was thinking of is, like,
One.
you know, we have it be
Let me-
over... Yeah,
Let
okay.
me type this in real quick.
Yeah, okay.
Hiya, Rex.
Hey,
Hello
Rex.
there.
Hello there. Alright. Just finally in the room and just chill out, be on my phone. So, hey, car engine.
The good boy is here.
Hey, boop the snake. Boop the snake and boop the chicken nugget and boop the well, I don't have a nickname for you, for that character yet, but boop, I don't want to call you your TZ name because that's been used in a while. So, boop the towel. We have a breaker. There's a blackboard that hasn't been marked in a while. I don't want to be the one to do it.
All right, but yeah, I'm fine if it does the like highest damage stack at the highest intensity.
I think that might have went over Darius' head, or he doesn't want it said.
Or he just ignored it. More likely that.
Oh,
It's just more that it was like
Aw.
fairly tinny, but also that like I am just trying to focus on this a lot.
Yeah.
that's fair.
Alright, so burn or frostbite, same thing as burn, just status and
Special.
special
Special,
effect.
So while you're doing that, one thing that I was thinking of is that persistent conditions would probably take like once an hour outside of combat, or like an intense scene, with the explanation of like, like maybe something to do with like due to the lack of adrenaline, like the effects that cause these to happen aren't happening as fast.
That is something I've already got written and will rewrite from down
Yeah.
below.
Yeah. But I was just thinking like we could keep that explanation.
Yeah.
Just as you know.
Being on the phone's kind of tricky. I'm trying to make where I can watch it while not hearing the audio. I can have the chat only up, but I can't have just the audio, just the visual on my phone. I don't wanna
To
see
be
the
fair, there's
storage
not
while you're
much.
talking.
There's not much to see though.
Yeah, it's just us working on the document.
You could just
What? How
open the
dare you
doc.
talk about storage like that? On my phone, I guess I could do that. Just find the page you're on. Oh, but I don't want to be able to see the chat and be like, "Hey, what's up, Sarah? Hey, good to see you." Sarah has a burger. While you're focusing on Scar Engine, I'll poke at the chat sometimes. That'd be the one I can focus on more, because not as good as focusing on Scar as y'all are. You can ask me for feedback, and I'll give it for what I've been playing so far. If there's anything in regards to what you're doing, like exhaustion or anything to do with my hugging shenanigans that matter be in topic.
We're
I guess.
focused on conditions right now mostly.
Oh, conditions. Okay, like status effects.
Yeah. That's going to be our word for status effects.
Do we
Conditions.
want to rename burn and frostbite to something else and basically make them more generalized?
Maybe.
It's already really
But for
pinched.
well, because part one of the things that we're talking about isn't just like coming up with a new synonym name. It's more about not tying it so closely to a specific element.
Oh, okay. So it can be used for other
Yeah.
things. Okay.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you could apply the same effect of a burn to somebody utilizing, potentially water or acid or, but we're
Scalding and
like those are things in Pokemon, but I kind of want to generalize it more so that way it's not like, oh, burn, yeah, that's definitely a fire thing. Frostbite, that is ice.
Yeah, if it's being really generalized, it'd be like just like an injury or like a, skin. Let's see. Generalizing burning and generalizing frostbite as two separate things or all together.
I think this is
got stuff
definitely
for
something
burn.
that we could revisit. I'm more worried about the actual like mechanical side effect of things right now.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I can't think of a thing for frostbite anyway.
So let's just keep focusing on the actual like mechanical side of things, and then for all of this, we could come up with more generalized names later.
Alright, sounds good. For Frostbite, what do we want for resisting? Considering it's special, perhaps, academics and... Well, we could do academics and integrity.
I like that because I like the idea that you
Yeah, I'm
your
fine with
knowledge
that.
would help you not
If it's
get hurt as
more-
much.
Well, because this is more focused on special, and special uses mind, so having it be more mentally focused makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I felt about burn and frostbite doing that. Wouldn't that be more of like a psychological damage?
No, this is for
More of your
frostbite,
mind?
not burn and frostbite. This is frostbite.
I know, but frostbite to me still feels like it's physical stuff. It's hurting your skin. It's hurting
No,
your
because
body.
frostbite, the effect that frostbite has is that it increases difficulty for special damage.
Oh, the effect. Okay.
The effect is mental. This is also why we're talking about generalizing the names. We just don't have a good option for it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, right now, Frostbite does say increases the difficulty for special because that's what it does in Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I want to generalize it so it's not so specific there.
Yeah. It's about the connotation and the mental image that it gives. That's why we're talking about changing it. We just don't have a good option to change it to right now. Next up is Frozen.
I definitely want to keep it.
Yeah.
Definitely has reason to cause damage. I mean, you are literally frozen in a block of ice. That's not going to do... You're not going to be doing very well.
Yep.
Um,
Do we want this one to affect... So, okay, I guess... Important thing, because obviously the big thing about Frozen is that it, like, you know, makes you incapable of acting.
Mm-hmm.
How do we want to scale this?
My brain goes to roll checks to get out every turn.
Well, no,
you know,
we
like
already
would it
have
be
that.
easier and easier?
We already have that. We're talking about not how to escape, we're talking about what it does.
Taking a whole turn away from you is really strong. So
Yes,
be
that's
scaling
why
and how much it costs to use it. Then the cost of that would be pretty high. Now we can't freeze everybody or freeze a bunch of people. So definitely a high value one.
We could have affect
from
their
maybe...
evasion, or maybe integrity.
Considering we do have things that already basically does the same thing with the scene conditions, maybe we should go ahead and get rid of Frozen.
Maybe. I could also see an argument for it reducing integrity, but yeah.
You have it to where like frost will like stack enough to get frozen on this.
No.
Okay.
Because the thing about Frozen right now is that it's basically like an amalgamation of multiple other like scene conditions we already have. Because it's like mixing restrained with sealed
And basically stunned.
and basically stunned. Yeah, so it's like sealed, strained, restrained, sealed, and stunned all rolled together.
I think I like the way you're going with the idea that it would cause your integrity to go down, and that it would give it its own little, make it a little different from stun. Since you know you're in a block of ice, you're probably going to be in a vulnerable state if you were to get messed up.
Well, I mean, honestly, the ice would probably give you armor.
I return.
Yeah.
It would remove
Well,
your
come back.
ability to evade, but...
Yeah. That's why I was saying either invasion or integrity, one of the two, depending on how we want to flavor it. The only other thing that I was thinking of is that like, just the whole thing with it, I was thinking that maybe we would give the evasion thing to paralysis.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, we could come up with a generalized thing for it where it reduces integrity and reduces, and paralysis takes care of evasion.
Yep.
Oh,
What if we rename it to something like brittle?
I like it.
Brittle sounds good.
And then move it up in front of burn. I think that's a good generalized name for that effect. It's going to make someone brittle.
Yeah, I've seen that around. Don't penalize it pretty similar. Says Lionheart. I haven't even seen penalize around. I'm guessing that's also a you can't move.
No, we don't have anything called penalize.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of things that refer to penalties, but
yeah, we don't have anything particularly called penalize.
Yeah. Okay. You have something for Dizzy, right? Already?
We have distracted.
Distracted. Oh, okay.
Distracted, stage 1 you lose non-defensive maneuvers, you keep movement though. Stage 2 you lose a quick action and defensive maneuvers except cleanse, and stage 3 you only have 1 action a turn. So we already have like a quote-unquote dizzy thing. We also have confusion. Which works like how you would expect it to work.
That's something I should probably get. That'd be really cool. Let them sleep, confusion, have them hit themselves. It's always the same way, right? They'll like probably end up hurting themselves in confusion or their teammates. Or is it like a little bit different than Pokemon?
It's a little bit different. So the thing is that for confusion you can only hurt yourself. If you want one where you hurt your teammates, possibly that would be more berserk.
Alright, how's that sound? Stage 1 is just damage, stage 2 -1 integrity, -2 integrity for stage 3.
Yeah. We could...
Freaky bed.
I think that stage 1 of brittle, I think I should probably maybe go 1, 2, 3, or maybe even a little bit higher. But you know what I mean? Like, brittle stage 1 just having the damage component of it doesn't exactly seem like it's the most impactful.
Yeah, and I suppose even at -3 integrity at the end game, that's gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's like, it's still good. This is gonna be like, okay. You hit me with stage 1 brittle, oh no.
So yeah, maybe we should figure out a different option.
We could basically make it the defensive opposite of burn, where like physical moves are stronger.
I like that.
That way we could keep the stage 1 being damage, and then stage 2 and stage 3 have like a different... are threatening. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It does mean we're gonna need a... Ooh, we could bring back Drowsy for it.
Yep. We can bring back Drowsy.
Drowsy being the special variety. The counterpart to Frostbite.
Or Brittle, but yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. Counterpart Brittle. do we want to keep it called drowsy?
I think
Honestly, I think that works.
yeah.
Unless you've got a
Maybe. I mean,
different-
there's a couple other good ones that I could think of. Maybe like weary.
Yeah, I could see that. Alright, so first off, stage 1, damage, stage 2,
You know,
incoming
yeah.
fizz attacks, -1 diff damage, and stage 3 is the same thing, just -2 difficulty on damage.
But yeah, there's a couple different words that I could think up, like, weary, maybe something like, what's another good one?
I like weary. We can do that.
Yeah.
Alright, resistance
Disheveled
for brittle. What do you mean by status priority, Stradivarian?
Also, Stradivarian, you do not roll defensively. It is a static number. You do not roll in response to damage coming in.
Yeah.
So, you saying that you raise the success value needed defensively, that isn't a mechanic that we use anymore.
That lasted for all of one single combat.
And then, yeah. Well, technically it lasted a little bit longer, but yeah.
If you want to see some fun busted combat, you should watch the first Lost in Chaos combat rolls. They got kind of funky. I think Chopper was able to do like all sorts of damage when we were doing the multi-attack thing. That was fun.
I remember when team attacks were able to crit. That was fun while it lasted.
Yep.
Stradivarian,
it was.
you choose whichever one you want to roll against. There's no, like, down the list priority. You choose which one you want to roll against if you have multiple statuses.
Yeah, you just choose the one.
Yeah. And Stradivarian, we're not going to have it lower the value of the base defense, because if we have it lower it by a static amount, it's going to be god tier early, and then kind of like, okay, I mean, I guess late game.
Lowering the difficulty of incoming attacks basically affects the same thing, but makes it scalable.
Yeah.
And Raijin, thank you so much for that gift sub to Zolette. No thanks, only ball. So, what skills do we want to use for resisting brittle?
Brittle is the physical side of things. So, again, I'm fine if we have integrity on it.
Integrity.
But since it's the physical side of things,
So like athletics and stuff?
I was thinking maybe
Would it really
athletics,
be
but I'm considering other options, yeah.
Acrobatic too. You wouldn't be that like acrobatic if you had, you know.
Yeah, but this is more focused on the physical aspect.
How about we do athletics and brawl for, or athletics or brawl for brittle, and then athletics or ranged for weary.
I'm fine with that.
Because those are, relatively tied to what they... Actually, no, never mind. Because you could... Brawl refers to melee, so never mind, that's a bad idea. Angel the Mutt, thank you very much for that follow. Welcome. So... Could
I was
do.
thinking along melee would be more like head stunning stuff. If you were like phased in a way that you wasn't able to concentrate, your melee would be messed up because that takes more of your concentration since it's a technique and you're using kung fu.
We're talking about
No,
resisting.
resisting it.
Resisting it. Oh, using what you have to resist it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Um,
maybe
Okay, yeah.
I like athletics for both.
Mhm.
It feels
Yeah,
good for
I think
both.
definitely athletic.
I want to move away from integrity because we've already got a bunch on
Yeah.
integrity. We could do athletics and evasion for both, or
what about one of them? What about weary being something like academics, appraise, investigation, lore, just one of the more knowledge skills.
I like that. We could
Yeah, one
do
of those would be good.
athletics and academics for weary, and athletics and
It's brittle, so the connotation there is that, like, physically part of you is getting weakened.
Yeah.
And made
so you strengthen
brittle.
it with athletics.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Appraisal?
Appraiser to figure out what part is the one that's getting weaker.
Yeah.
maybe, or survival. I could also see survival, maybe.
Survival.
Yeah, I
I'd
like
probably
your
survival.
suggestion there. Alright. Athletics or survival. And then we'll have weary. Which is the same, just special.
Yep.
I'll rewrite these all together with flavor stuff later, but right now I'm just putting in the... Alright, so it was athletics or academics for weary?
Yeah, I think we went with academics.
Alright, so that is frozen, crossed off, and completely changed.
Yep. I mean, hey, look, maybe it wasn't always going to last.
Things ordered.
All right, so we have paralysis, which we already kind of talked about with evasion, but I got a bit of a suggestion because I don't know if we want to keep paralyzed because of connotation.
Paralysis is... Like, while Pokemon has very thoroughly assigned it to electricity, it is a general enough term to me to be able to be used for others. You know, I feel like it is generalized enough.
Yeah.
Because paralysis isn't, you know, it's a lot more.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if we wanted to keep it because of that.
I'm good with keeping it.
Yeah, so...
There really isn't a lesser degree of stun Stradivarian.
Yeah,
And
it's
also,
just stun stacks.
And also, persistent conditions are meant to be a bit more dangerous than the scene ones.
Yeah, scene ones are supposed to be, like, more generally usable in terms of, like, you could use things like, distracted, like, in a lot of different circumstances, but persistent conditions are only really, like, they are the kind that is, this is a threatening, I'm going to deal damage to you now, and it's going to stay until you resist it. Call what broken? Why would we call it broken? I'm not trying to be, like, condescending, I'm just confused. Because I feel like you have, like, an idea in mind, and I'm just not understanding you.
I think he's saying to rename paralysis to broken.
Oh. If it's persistent for not working long term, something is broken. Okay, I'm confused again.
He's talking about paralysis and renaming it to broken.
Oh. If it's persistent for not working...
Read that message along with all the rest.
So call... lesser degrees, so call it broken. Paralysis, if it's persistent for not working long term, something is broken.
He is talking about renaming paralysis to broken.
Okay, I'm just confused because of the word, like the verbiage and word choice. I'm just confused about it.
No worries, Stradivarian. I understood what you were talking about, but no, I like the term paralysis.
I'm back. I wanted to input the whole time. I kind of get what he's saying. This kind of feels a little, but I like the term paralysis. I'm with.
I'm just confused, but sometimes that happens, so I'm not.
Oh, I got you. Paralysis and broken doesn't seem similar to me either, but it's
paralysis, do we want it to affect initiative, evasion, or both?
I say both.
Alright, how do we want it to affect evasion, then? Do we just want it to be a generalized evasion? Evasion, decreased difficulty? We could mix it.
How do you mean?
Your soul, huh?
We could always mix it so that way, stage 2 would be something, or either stage 2 or stage 3, we could swap it, but like one of the stages will be, like something akin to, reduces difficulty to hit by 1. And then the other one could be reduces initiative by however much, or like could just straight up set it to 0. How do you feel about that?
Hello there, Asher.
Well, it's another Asher. Asher, how you doing? Evil, murhaha.
Sure.
I'm not sure what you mean by clash, Stradivarian.
Yeah, we don't... Do you mean parry? Like upgraded parry?
Our modest fellowship expands. Praise the sub.
But yeah, how do you feel about the whole, like, paralysis being, like, one of the negatives, like, stage 2 or stage 3, is reduced difficulty to hit by 1, and then the other one nukes the initiative standing?
But then what about stage 3?
Oh, I was saying that would either be, like, maybe 2...
Oh, so stage 1 is just damage, and then... Also, Raijin, thank you so much for that gift sub to Asher.
Yeah, because I don't want to reduce, like, getting hit by 2. That's... I don't really want to do that. But... Maybe stage 1 could just be something fairly... What's something impactful but fairly, like, innocuous? That has... Okay, I guess one important thing is, do we still want it to kneecap special movements? We can have it do the movement speed debuff again.
I like that.
Maybe not kneecap special movements, but 50% movement speed reduction.
I like the idea of it disabling special movements.
All right, maybe we do something like initiative, then the special movements, and then evasion. Because I feel like that's like in terms of intensity, like the scaling.
Sorry, I did not follow that.
So, like in terms of like intensity for scaling, I'm a little bit thinking because I feel like disabling special movements is higher up in terms of like effect than just nuking the initiative score. But on the other hand, there are characters that aren't going to have any special movement types. So I also don't know if that's like...
Oh, it would do both. 50% land movement plus disabling special. That's
Alright.
what I was thinking.
Okay. Do we think that should happen at stage 2 then? Because I feel like 50% movement and all special types disabled is going to be more impactful than just lowering initiative. Because you can still technically do everything you were able to do previously at a lower initiative.
Yeah.
So stage
The idea of
1...
I feel like stage 1 should be the initiative nuke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to put it down
think that
to
sounds-
0, but like a reasonable, like hefty initiative nuke.
Hmm.
I'd say minus 20 to initiative is good. It's not a complete nuke for later game, but it definitely will move you down.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
And then also it helps for when they get over the paralysis for figuring out where they were before.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, instead of setting it to 0 and then having to remember, okay, they were at 15 before, then it's like, oh, okay, they got over it, and okay, just add 20 to whatever they're at.
Yep. Also, Stradivarian, I don't need to bother with that. Vayne already has a move that applies Restrained, and stage 1 of Restrained is, you can't move.
No moving.
Yeah, so he doesn't need to bother with this. He already has something that does that faster and better. It's just that this also deals damage. So. But yeah, I think that minus 20 initiative is fine. Or minus 20 initiative score. 50% or like half movement and no special movement types. And then on top of that, minus 1 difficulty to hit at the end. I think this is definitely one that should be resisted with acrobatics because that's like your nimbleness. Maybe we can I was questioning on if we could give something to perform for this. Or if we should have it be evasion. Because evasion is also nimbleness, and perform isn't entirely nimbleness.
I like evasion and
Acrobatics.
maybe since it penalizes initiative and evasion, we make
I'm fine with
it initiative and
I'm fine.
evasion.
Yep, I'm fine with that. Alright, go ahead and scratch out paralysis.
Yeah, Raijin, we are definitely trying to avoid that. We want we've got a very large variety of different things you can do. Like, you've got Drawn, which can force people to move towards you. We got Repulse, which can force them to move away. Restrained, which keeps them from being able to move. stun, which just disables the next action. We've got a lot of different varieties of options to utilize.
Options are good.
I'm fine if poison, maybe not called poison, but I think that poison might be one where it just focuses on damage. I feel like this might be the one where it's just like hard on damage. What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
And then actual poison will move to long-term condition stuff.
Yeah.
But for the persistent condition, we'll rename it.
What if we call it something like taint, blight, something like that?
I like blight.
Yeah, light works.
Yeah, poison, I like the long-term thing. It's not quite as long-term as others, but it works for that.
Yeah, Varian, the thing about it isn't that we're trying to avoid, like, just the word poison, it's that, because we have our own typing thing, but we also want it to be generally applicable to every single type if we can. So, it being something like blighted, like, it does carry negative connotations to it, but not really hard towards any one particular thing.
Giemond, so diseased was just me copy-pasting the existing wording for it. I'll put a note in.
Yeah, you can just put a note that that's not updated.
There. This is not updated, just copy-pasted for now. So, diseased is a... Well, all of this is going to be highlighted orange soon.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, this needs to have a different color, I think.
That works.
Yeah. Or we could do the thing that we did before, where it's like that.
I like that better.
Yeah. That way, because it's a warning.
Yeah. And then everything will be highlighted orange.
Yep. Yep. Alright. So, poison, calling it blight. Or blighted, whatever you want to call it. Could also call it something like afflicted.
I'm going to be using afflicted for a lot of terminology across this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because, instead of just saying the target, it'll be the afflicted suffers this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I just wanted to throw it out because I think that would also be a good name for this.
I agree. So for this one, deals damage, but instead of starting at 8, it'll be difficulty 7.
I'm fine with that. And then, maybe it, raises the difficulty to tend it. Or resist it. After, in stage 2 and 3. How do you feel about that?
I kind of like just having it damage. Because, considering stage 1 is also Albrecht the Zoroark. Thank you very much for that follow. Welcome.
Oh, hey, Albert.
Greetings.
Been a while since I saw you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you know them.
Not too much, but I've seen them around.
But considering that it is, It starts at difficulty 7 for damage, and then it goes to difficulty 6 and difficulty 5 at stage 3. That is 50% of those dice are going to do damage.
Yeah, I'm just more comparing it to, like, the other things involved, where, like, comparing Blight to Brittle. Like, it's nice and all, but, like, okay?
We could have it where where if you have it in addition to something else at the same intensity, this is the one that takes the damage.
Oh, so priority, not stacking.
Yeah, you can give it priority, I guess. I think maybe stage 3 having plus 110 would... Like, what do you feel about that? Because I do feel like having plus 10 difficulty, like, as, like, maybe a capstone. How do you feel about that?
So, +1 difficulty to resist?
Yeah. Or like, have it tended, so that way it's looking for 8s.
Alright, we can do that.
Yeah, because I feel like that's, like, it's impactful, but it's not going to tip it over. How do you feel?
Sounds good. And then has priority for damage over time versus other conditions.
Yeah. Say difficulty has priority. So that way if another thing has a different, Okay, you know what? We'll just make sure to put it in, like, in the final version, you know.
There. Has div priority over dot versus
Well,
other
because there's other things we're going to have to throw, and that's why, like, I correct myself and said we'll just put it more detailed later. Because you don't want this to have priority at difficulty 7 if something else is on on stage 3 and has difficulty 6. But, you know. Boy. Blah, blah, blah. We'll put that in later, it's fine. Oh yeah, also, we're going to have to make this... It's that blue. Okay. Whoops.
Here, I got it.
There's so many different, very similar colors of blue here.
I go by the columns.
Okay. I was just trying to visually color match, like...
Yeah.
Like, is it this one? No. Is it this one? No.
Yeah, I go by the columns, and I specifically avoided the ones that were like cornflower blue and cyan, and going with just outright blue.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so... Sleep.
Oh, we still need to do resist for light.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, integrity, definitely.
I feel like we could put another note in there for something, but yeah, so definitely integrity, maybe medicine?
Yeah, I was about to say medicine.
I'm going... How about, like, I was thinking about putting in a note saying that if you're resisting it yourself, it's a vigor. Because we had it be vigor-based before, and I kind of like that, but I also don't know if you want to call for that again.
I don't. I want to stick to skills.
Yep. All right. Well, I meant for the attribute that you use for the skill. But I'm fine if we leave it out, honestly. That could be up to the storyteller, in my opinion. I just wanted to bring it up because it was in the previous thing. All right. What do we want for sleep?
Hold on a sec.
Oh, yep.
Huh? Huh?
Or
Quiet on second. Oh, okay. Got really quiet. I thought it went.
It's because Zim said to give him a second, so I'm giving him a second.
Yeah, sorry, I had some admin stuff that I noticed and was checking on.
Ah, okay.
Fair.
Oh.
did you swing the hammer?
No, it was already taken care of. I was just double checking because I saw it and wanted to make sure it was taken care of.
Fair
The
enough.
hammer's already been swung, though.
Hmm.
Okay, where were we? Sleep.
Sleep. Yeah.
Well, it's one that is relatively easy to get rid of. Somebody else can just shake you awake.
Yep. Assist to get awake pretty easily.
Or slap you?
Yep. Well, we already have a thing where if you take damage, it's reduced difficulty to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
What can we do for the staging of this?
It could be kind of a combination of drowsy and sleep, where you're not actually asleep until, like, stage 2 or 3.
I'm fine at being stage 2.
Yeah.
That way, if someone purchases advanced effects, it'll proc on 2. If they have an advanced sleep move. Do we want to keep the sleep theme? Because we can also go... Good.
I feel like dreary. It's been more like it's been putting people in a more dreary state than sleep.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
also,
just call it
First stage where you're, like,
depression.
getting...
Just call it depression. But I was also thinking that we could
you
use...
jumped a few things.
we could also use it for, like, I don't know, like, maybe them being, like, encased. Because I don't know if we want to keep the thematic of them falling asleep.
I am okay with that.
Okay.
But considering that it's going to deal damage, I kind of like... Pardon me, what's to call it? Just depression.
Oh, lordy Jesus.
I inflict you with depression!
Okay,
Emotion.
look.
Just because the last episode was literally that doesn't mean...
Zim, you need to stop wizard posting on main.
I need emotional damage.
I cast EB.
I don't know what you mean by that, Aldarius.
Wait, have you never seen the wizard posting subreddit?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. There's a bunch of different things on there, but this is also where people share around, like, things where it's like, I cast instant Brazilian wax.
Oh. That's amazing.
So, but it's called wizard posting.
I see.
So that's why I was saying you need to stop wizard posting on main.
Fair enough.
I mean, do you have a better idea for it?
Then calling it depression?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, we can find something. I'd hope. As no.
First off, we could just keep it called sleep. We could call it something like encased.
I don't like encased.
All right. Well, you already said that you were fine with the whole sleep thing, but if you really do want it to be something else,
Lumber?
Is he?
Sapped.
I was about to say, like, sapped or something of that nature, maybe something where it's like,
Drain?
Drained?
Ooh,
We just said-
torpor.
Fatigued.
Oh,
Hey, high five, Rex. We just said the exact same thing.
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess torpor works.
Could
What the
also
heck is
be
torpor?
apathy.
Apathy has a different connotation. Torpor is
Yeah.
I kind of like.
by the way, in case you guys don't know, torpor is involuntary sleep. It's like a mini hibernation.
Ah,
I have no idea. I think the fact you have to explain that doesn't make it a weird word to use.
Put him
Okay.
into hibernate.
But yeah, this is basically like a mini hibernation.
interesting. I never heard that word before. That's a new word. That's a new word.
Torpor. Torpor.
Cool.
Yeah, I like torpor. Then again, I also like depression.
Yeah,
we're not doing
that's
depression.
true.
I'm going to veto
Okay, that's
you
a
on that
quote
one.
right there.
I also like
Really lean into
depression.
this. Jeez. What? Quote that. Where's the clip person when you need him? Come, Brad. You know what to do.
No, it's not enough for a clip, I think, but I will add it as a
Quote.
quote.
Don't add it.
So, anyways, torpor.
Trance? I just found another word.
No, I like torpor.
Alright, so stage 1. So stage 2 is just outright they're asleep.
Yeah.
Stage 3 and stage 1, though, what do we want for those? Because obviously if they're asleep, they can't evade.
Comatose.
Stage 3, we could do something like basically like like straight up like now they're effectively comatose and like it's harder to wake them up.
I'm good with that.
We're entranced.
Well, if they're already asleep, it's hard to entrance them.
That's
Plus,
true.
we're past the terms for this stuff we're talking about. Yeah, I like the difficulty increase to wake. Sleep 2, or torpor 2 would be them just outright asleep, so no evasion and such. Stage 1, though, what do we want for that?
Stage 1.
Hello there, average goat man.
So let's look at a couple of the things that they'd have.
No, I may get pulled away for a movie.
All right. So
You got it,
it's restless.
Stage 1 could be they are... They only get one action per turn.
Maybe, but that's already the tier 3 of distracted. I mean, obviously, distracted has more stuff attached to it. That is already like straight up the tier 3 of distracted. So, I want to try and think of something unique.
Affects their rolls more?
Ooh, idea. Torpor halves their bulk capacity.
Their what capacity?
Tier 1 Torpor halves their bulk capacity.
Oh, bulk capacity.
What do you think about that?
I don't really think that, I mean, we could add that in, but I don't know about, because I do want to consider what these would do in combat, and I don't recall any problems with combat for...
Oh, no, there is. There is. If
Did I
you're
put
over
it?
your bulk capacity, you move at half movement and you have less evasion.
Ah.
You know what? Sure, let's go for it.
Yeah. So just so we're all on the same page about what exactly this does, let me go to the equipment. It is deciding to be weird. Okay, there we go. Bulk system. Encumbrance. If you go over your limit for bulk, you will be subject to encumbrance debuffs. Encumbrance lowers every roll by 2 and your speed by half. In addition, your evasion score is reduced by half as well. When you are overburdened, you suffer a -4 to all rolls and can no longer evade attacks. Your speed is still only halved. Encumbered happens when you are over your bulk limit, and overburden happens when you're double. So basically, like, if you get hit with torpor and you're encumbered, you're now overburdened. And it's also possible that, like, if you're over half of your bulk capacity, like, let's say from wearing armor, carrying around a bunch of shit, you get hit with torpor, all of a sudden you're encumbered.
Yep. I like that. Alright, so stage 1 lowers bulk capacity by half. Stage 2, asleep, unable to evade altogether, no actions. Stage 3, what were we saying? Oh, right, difficulty to resist.
Yep. Assist/resist +1. Difficulty.
Alright, and then for resist on this, we could have...
I'm fine with it being perception.
That doesn't feel like it fits to me.
I was just throwing out something because I didn't want it to be athletics again.
I was thinking acrobatics.
Fair.
This one's for sleeping? For the sleep and torque. I still can't get that word down. I'm not gonna memorize it. It's not in my vocabulary.
Torpor.
You got those affecting your weight.
What about presence?
Well, I was just about to say to Stradivarian, I'm partially trying to avoid using presence because we did have that a lot with the scenes.
Yeah.
But I am okay with that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, like, if this is the last one we're really going to be including, at least for now, so... I was thinking having one be presence in persistent.
Yeah.
If there's going to be one, I feel like it should be this one.
Yeah, acrobatics or presence. Works for me.
Alright. I'll go ahead and cross off sleep. Alright. Now, what are we doing for wounded? We know how it happens now, but what are we doing?
Well, first off, it'll be a long-term condition.
Yep.
My original imagining for it is something where... It's something that I feel like we're going to need to sit down and really come up with some ideas for, first off. But my idea for it was it would kind of depend on where you get hit or where your wound is, etc., etc. So it could vary a lot on what it does. Like, for example, you get wounded on your wing, you can't fly. You get wounded on a leg, you might have half movement for a long time, or no movement, depending on how severe and such. That's kind of what I was thinking for wounds.
All right, so more narrative effect.
Yes. I mean,
All right.
it'll be a narrative combined with mechanical. Yeah,
for
it'll
the
be
me-
up to storyteller discretion, exactly, Stradivarian. We'll give some examples for it, like I just did. But yeah,
I might have an idea for you.
okay.
What if wounded affects your ability to have like the amount of temp HP you can have?
So it
That's
could be
not
perhaps a reduction of max HP then?
Effectively, yeah.
I like that.
But the reason I was saying temp HP is just because it's also like, that way it'll affect preventative as well.
I don't really want to do that because preventative is typically like for lack of a better term right now, it's a magical effect. It's a magical shield.
Yeah.
So you having a wound should not affect that.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. In that case, yeah. Effectively, like, probably 3/4, 1/2, 1/4 for tiers. If you have a tier 1 wound, you're at a quarter, or you're at 3/4 your max HP max now. If you're tier 2 wound, then you have half, and if you're tier 3, then you're at a quarter. And if you have multiple, it just takes the highest. It's just you'll have to get them all cleansed or healed before you're back at full HP.
I like that.
I was giving a lot of thought to what we do for wounded.
Alright. Mostly up to storyteller discretion for other effects. But the primary effect for this will be that... so for other effects, based on wound location... but then for other effects, it reduces your max HP. I like that.
Yeah.
Stage 1. Max HP 3/4. No, don't do that.
Yeah. It's a funny thing here. Here. Let me. Yeah. There you go. Oh no, you did the thing. Okay. Here, just let me write this part.
Okay.
Oh, whoops. It just okay. It didn't want to control Z it. Cool. So what you do is this. Oh, okay. It's doing that thing. I gotcha. I know what it's doing now. Two. Whoops.
Oh yeah, I guess we could probably just put percentages instead.
Yeah.
And it would be more in line with the rest of the wording on the document.
Fair. By the way, what you have to do in order to do it is just after you type it and press the space or the other thing, you have to press backspace. That's the trick for Google
That's
Docs.
what I was doing, though. I was like,
You have to do it right away.
ugh.
If you wait, it doesn't do it.
Well, either way, we're not using fractions because, yeah, percentages is kind of standard for this. So
Yeah. No. I'm just letting you know how it does the thing. You have to do it right away. Otherwise, it don't work.
That is weird.
We'll come up with some proper examples later, but I just threw in 3 of them right there.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I really liked this idea for the mechanical effect of wounds.
I like it as well. Do we want it to have a potential, if it's untreated, for it developing into an infected disease?
Yes, but that should be in the disease section.
Okay.
I feel like that could be a daily roll for every day a wound goes untreated.
Yeah, we can
And
do
it's a
that.
lower difficulty every single check. So, like, if you leave it untreated for, like, a week, or, like, you know, it's probably going to get infected.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're, like, ungodly lucky, but...
Alright. Well, that is all of our current conditions settled.
Yep.
Very nice.
I think just about, like, one of the only things that we really need to actually go over still is weather.
Yeah, I've got a thing.
I'm not talking about the particulars of weather, like, in this depth. I'm talking about the base things. Come on, Zim. I told you this was happening already. You knew it was coming.
I think I have to go. There's a thing that just popped up. I think you're gonna be okay, right, sir? Right.
Things will be fine. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds like it's about to get really heavy in here. It's about to get really complicated, isn't it?
No, it's really not.
No. Okay, I'll try to pay attention. It's starting to hurt my head. What you got? What's the next?
All right.
I am going to do one note real quick. Actually, we'll put it up here.
Yep. Also, if you...
These notes are valid for play except specified for diseased, if I can spell, and poison. They will simply be reworded soon TM.
Soon, TM.
Wait, is there no superscript on here?
Oh, do you want me to put the actual TM thing?
Yes.
All right. I gotcha. Here, where are you writing this?
At the top of the all of this.
All right. Well, because don't worry, because I just thought about something else. Soon. There you go.
Excellent. Thank you.
Another thing that I just remembered that we talked about but didn't actually codify anywhere, which is that the DCs for set cleanse DCs and the critical idea for scene conditions. We never wrote those down anywhere. We just talked about it in DMs.
Right. Refresh me, please.
All right. So conditions are going to have a set cleanse DC upon them being applied, which is going to be soul and expertise and whatever skill you use to apply that condition. And this will also be for the, basically just conditions overall. Cleanse removes one intensity stage. So what'll happen is that conditions are going to be, oh hey, when I apply this, I know that if I apply this restrained condition, I have 1 soul, 3 expertise, and 2 skill. 1 plus 3 plus 2 equals 6. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. It has a cleanse DC of 3. You need to roll at least 3 successes on your cleanse check to clear off one stage.
Okay. So let me get this right. You're suggesting that for cleansing, it'll be the number of successes from the attacker divided by 2? Or did I completely miss what you were saying?
Almost had it. I was saying that instead of it being based off of however many successes were rolled, instead your status move just has a cleanse DC attached to it that it just has. Where it's the attribute you use for it, which is going to be soul. Your highest expertise plus whatever skill you use for that move. And then divide it by 2.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Alright. That way, it's just something that's kept track of. It doesn't vary back and forth all the time. You don't have to keep note of, I got hit with this condition, and they rolled this many successes on it, and then I got hit with this condition, and they had this many successes, so if I roll a cleanse against this one, I need that. No. It's just, hey, what was the cleanse DC? Okay, here's my roll.
I think we'll put this in the conditions chapter at the beginning of it.
Alright. And for scene conditions, we were going, because they're non-damaging, we were going to do that quote-unquote crit mechanic. Or if it's a double their soul save, plus 5, whichever's higher, they get another stage.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
My brain was on setting up making notes.
Okay, just focus on that. Just focus on that.
Do we actually want this at the beginning of the chapter for specifying what the saves are, or do we want that after all the conditions?
I'm fine with either, honestly.
Yeah, we'll put it at the beginning. It'll actually be this. One sec. I got a message from Whiskers, so...
Whiskers. This just in. Whiskers cute.
Yes.
All right, I guess one. Are you? By the way, are you available now, Zim?
Okay, so... Yeah, I was just... Yeah. I'm good now. Alright.
Alright.
Resisting conditions. Set save DC equal to... It was...
Attribute plus expertise plus skill divided by 2.
Okay.
Do we want to include any, like, extra quote-unquote power, increases that the move has for the thing? So, like, you know, if they have, like, plus 2 dice to roll against the soul save, do we want to include those in this calculation?
Um...
Because I can see arguments both for and against, but I figure we might as well ask this now.
Present the arguments for each side.
All right. So, on one side, if you have a condition and you put a bunch of power into it, so that way, you're able to apply it a lot easier. It's kind of a bit feels bad if it also gets instantly cleansed. On the other hand, it also makes it so that way, like, for 10 XP, you increase the save DC by 1, while also making it more likely to apply.
I would say those should be separate.
All right, we'll put it. Do you want to put in a separate XP upgrade for increasing the save DC?
Yes.
All right.
Because it feels a little broken to me for, 5 or 10 XP to give you both a better chance to apply as well as make it harder to get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why I was sort of more in the middle, because I could see arguments both for and against. I guess you could put it down as plus any DC modifiers or whatever it is.
Let's go and bring up that other doc real quick while we're thinking about this. We'll just put it over here for now. So what do we want for the...
I feel like we shouldn't really bother too much on the shit in there, because we're gonna rework that entire goddamn thing.
That's fair.
So I don't think we should worry too much about it being in there. We'll just say, what do we want it to be called?
Well, for the effect, it would be increase save DC by 1. And then for the XP cost, I would say 10.
And it's about where I was leaning to.
And I just wanted to make a note of it, so we, remember to actually include that when we rework it. And 2, we've got something for people to use until we rework it.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Have the option to increase DCs as a status specialty. We're not really going to have that.
Oh, question. What time does the session start today?
Like 20 minutes, probably.
Yeah. Alright, set save DC equal to the same stats rolled for applying condition divided by 2. Add increased save DCs.
Yep.
What was the suggestion on crits?
If it would be, basically effectively an accuracy crit, where, let's say the soul save is 4 and you roll 9, that would count as a crit, because it's at least 5 above the soul save and double. However, if the soul save was, let's say, 6 and you roll 11, that's not double, so you don't get a technical crit. And what it would do is if you crit on it, then you would get an extra stage on whatever status condition or whatever condition you just tried to apply, basically +1. So if it would normally be stage 1 blind, instead now it's stage 2 blind. That way, it gives you a reward for rolling really high, but because there's a set DC for saves, it doesn't make it impossible to save against.
I like that idea, and I'm good with it applying to both scenes and persistent conditions.
I don't want it to apply to persistent because that's already the damage that's going to be applied. It's the successes over save.
True.
So if they get double, if they roll like a 13 versus a 6, they're already going to be rolling 7 damage dice every turn until it's saved against. I don't feel the need to give them the increased condition stage for free as well.
Yeah.
This will be the benefit of having scene conditions as opposed to persistent conditions. Because right now, persistent conditions have the benefit of dealing damage while giving effects. This should be the benefit of having a scene condition, is that if you have an advanced scene condition and you crit, you get stage 3 off of 1 turn. I feel like that's a very good benefit to going with a scene condition as opposed to a persistent. Because scene conditions are inherently non-damaging by their base. Like, obviously, there's confusion, which technically deals a little bit of damage, but that's more of like a special case. And like the drawn and repulsed kind of deals a tiny bit of damage, but that's not the point. It just might deal a little bit of damage extra.
Yeah, I'm good with this. Let's just do that for now.
Yep, alright.
So yeah, scene conditions can be crit with same rules to apply 1 additional intensity. Anything more to note on that?
Nope. I'm just marking this off on the to-do list.
Oh, I'm gonna say head up for now. It's been fun. Big hugs to everyone, and I'll see you soon.
Alright.
Rex.
See you, Rex. Rex cute.
See
and
you.
See you. Love you. Bye.
Okay. So, next up... What was the next thing that you wanted to... What else did we...
Weather.
Weather. Right.
Not the actual details, but like the base mechanics. So, first off, we were going to completely fucking snap the idea that weather will deal damage.
Yes. Though, real quick, there was one other thing that would fall in the conditions chapter.
Oh, okay.
Stat changes. At least I feel those fall into the conditions chapter.
Sure. But we already have the rules for those sorted out, so I want to...
Well, I just want to go over them real quick, make sure that what we've already got written is good.
Alright.
So that way I know I can rewrite them, or if it's good to rewrite them as is, or if we want to make adjustments.
Alright, that's fair. That's fair.
So right now we've got 4 stat changes. We've got, damage, integrity, split up, physical and special. We've got soul
Also
save.
soul save. Yep.
Well, soul save is just 1, though. Crit chance, accuracy, evasion, initiative, and speed.
Yep.
So right now, the damage ones, add or subtract 1 die from the relevant roll.
Yep.
Integrity, add, subtract 1 die from relevant roll.
Yep, same with soul save. Or no, integrity, it just gives 1 to the quick reference. Like your actual evasion. Or not evasion, integrity. As well as evasion.
Right.
But,
See, that's a point to adjust.
Yep.
So, instead... we'll just remove that. Highlight that green. Accuracy, add, subtract 1 die from hit accuracy rolls.
Yep.
Evasion.
Do we want accuracy to affect condition moves?
I don't see why not.
Well, okay. The reason why is because originally we were flip-flopping a lot. Because on one hand, we kind of like the idea of having something to boost up condition moves. On the other hand, we didn't want anything to oppose soul save increases. So we kind of flip back and forth a lot, so I'm just seeing where we're standing right now.
I say yes. Partially because, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because, if we're like, this applies to accuracy, except for condition accuracy. That gets a little awkward. I say just applies to all accuracy checks.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the condition check is, the accuracy for conditions is the percentile roll.
Fair enough. We'll make it add 5% to those.
Alright, works for me. Because that's kind of what it is anyway.
That's 5% to condition accuracy rolls.
Do we want to keep any sort of crit chance base increasers?
I am good with that.
Alright. Do we want to limit it to different than the +6?
Let's go through this one line at a time, please.
Okay. Well, we were, because we were fine with the integrities, the damage, the soul save, and now the next thing on the thing was crit chance.
No, the next thing on the list was evasion.
Oh, well, evasion is below crit chance on the sheet.
I'm talking about what's on the actual document.
Oh, okay. Because I was going by the... Okay.
Yeah, I'm going by the actual document and what we've written there.
All right.
I suppose
that makes sense. I was going by something else.
I should bring that up on here. Where is that? It's probably down here somewhere. It's above that. Okay. Okay. I'm narrowing down where it is.
What are you looking for?
Oh, right. Page 70. I can just look at the page. Right. 73.
Whoops.
So it's right here.
Oh, you're looking for the stat changes thing again. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was looking at it on my second monitor instead of the main one, which the main one is where everybody can actually see what we're looking at. So for the stream, I was trying to bring it up. All right, initiative changes will adjust your initiative on the combat tracker and can impact when you take your turn in the next round. Adds 10 to, add/subtract 10 to your initiative score in combat per increase, decrease.
You could just put a change, but yeah, increase,
Per
decrease.
change. That sounds good to me.
Yep, looks good to me.
It basically effectively adds the result of a die at max, so...
Yeah. You're paying for it, so I feel like you should get it.
Yeah. Speed changes will decrease your movement by 5 feet per change. So if your normal movement is 30 feet and you have a -1 to speed, you can only move 20 feet. Or 25. I like that. I think that's good.
All right. Yep, I think that's good.
Alright. Crit chance changes impact to the exploding dice. So if you increase your crit chance by 1, the 9s will count as 2 successes and you roll them again in addition to 10s. Was this the form? Yes, it was. Responses. Because I recall we got a response about that.
It was about reducing difficulty, but yeah. It was about how late game with all the dice, it would quickly go crazy.
Okay, so just not adding anything for reducing difficulty, but crit is okay.
Yeah, there wasn't anything particularly about crit. What I'm thinking is that we should limit it to 3. The reason why is because if we limit it to 3, that means that crits will go from 10s, and you could get it all the way down to 7s, so down to the standard, thing. And if something is considered a crit but isn't normally considered a success, it'll just be considered a success. So, the mechanic that I'm thinking of is, let's say you're doing something on 7s, and you have crit chance increase. So, what will happen is that 9s, 8s, and 7s will all count as critical, as well as 10s, obviously. However, if you're doing something at difficulty 9, and you have plus 3 crit chance, instead what happens is that it goes 9s are now critical, because they are both critical and a success, but 8s and 7s will now just be considered normal successes again. What do you think? Because I don't know if this is something that you think is, not healthy or too complicated.
I like being able to go up to 3. But there is that concern, or there is the alternative, or the flip side that we need to figure out as well. Do we want to
Well, okay. Part of my reasoning here is that based on how it is, it will not make it so that way anything that isn't a success normally would ever be considered a success. Because if it's limited to 3, as opposed to the 6 for the rest of the stuff, 3 means that at most, even if the difficulty is maxed out, to where it would normally be, it won't lower it back down below to where the standard difficulty is. However, if it comes to something in the opposite direction of removing critical, the first stack goes towards making 10s no longer critical, because there is an available crit chance to get rid of. After that, the next 2 affect difficulty. So 7s would become 8s, 8s would become 9s. 9s are already our standard for maximum difficulty.
Actually, 10 is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when it comes to the type chart, sorry, I was thinking type chart.
Oh.
9s is already a standard for maximum on type chart. So, giving someone -3 crit effectively makes it so they can't crit, and now they're treating damage on you like it is double resisted.
Yeah, that sounds
And then,
good.
if it's resisted already or double resisted already, it doesn't matter past that, because then 10s are always considered a success, so nothing changes.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll definitely get rid of difficulty increase, decrease, because that falls into the crit chance stuff.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it might not be good to increase the cost of crit chance.
I think crit chance being... I know what you're saying for it. I know what you're saying and why you're saying it. It's just also that I'm trying to think of, on one hand, with how crit chance is currently worded, you're able to select it as your stat thing at the beginning of the game. So we might just want to put a specific restriction that, without approval, you can't choose critical increase for your stat change, your beginning stat change. Because it's by far, the most impactful individual stat change.
I would rather make sure that it cannot be chosen in the beginning.
Alright, in that case, we need to make it so that way, when we're doing our move cost rework, that it is 35 EXP to choose a critical increase. That way you cannot select it with your 30 starting thing, and then we can put an additional thing saying, oh hey, because the way that we currently have the XP allotment, you have 2 moves at the beginning, one of which is a 4 damage, like just basic type move, and it's melee, but it can be physical or special. It's a brawl move. The other thing is that so long like if you just cancel out the critical thing, if you just make it so they can't choose critical, they can choose a stat move that goes up to 20 XP, effectively. Because 10 for the stat change, and then up to 10 for one of the selections. So that's 20 XP, and then the 30 XP starting move that they can make from whatever. And if we don't want them to be able to select it at all, then we just make it so it's 35 XP.
I was thinking just make it 20. So then if they do want to invest in that's fine.
Well, I'm just saying so that way they can't select, like, make a note saying that you can't select critical as one of your free starting, like your free starting stat change.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Because then otherwise they could just select that, and then they have it. They don't need to spend XP on it, or the 30 starting EXP at all. I think that if they are allowed to choose it as their starting 30 EXP move, that's a bit healthier. Because then they're dedicating all of their starting XP into having this.
Yeah. Though technically they couldn't do that anyways. Because 30 XP, even at the 15 before, you would need 25 for one stage, and then you'd also need... You'd need 55 currently for just one stage of crit chance change. We might need to really revamp that.
I know, that's why we were... That's why we had told people that if it's literally just a stat change move, and it has nothing else on it, it won't count as, like, the 20 XP for the extra effects, because the guaranteed extra effects without damage was meant for the status conditions, not the stat changes, but then, like, you know, when it was mixed with other things it was intended for. So it was a complete fucking mess, and we're definitely revamping it.
Yeah. Alright. Yeah, we definitely, yeah. Need to fix that bad.
But what do you think about the base of crit chance can only be changed plus or minus 3?
I like that. And
impacts difficulty. Yeah. There we go. I think that's a better thing. One thing that I think that is a bit healthier to allow is, like, specifically, if they want to have damage on, like, a lot of critical on a move, then that is something that they purchase per move.
yes.
So if they want to have a high crit move, I feel like it's a lot healthier that the majority of that comes from the move instead of the you just having it on everything.
Yeah, that does make sense.
So do we want to just get rid of the buff for crit chance?
I'm fine with plus or minus 3.
Okay.
Because the thing is that that could be, you could use plus or minus 3 in, like, many ways. But I just think it's healthier if it's, like, if it's more focused on getting it on the move. I want it to be more available to be on the move than it is to increase it on everything. If that makes sense. And I feel like the move should also be limited to, like, a plus 3 crit.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, but we can go over that more when we do the actual move rework. Really quick, just speed running the weather effects thing. Because, again, we really need to just This is like the last ththing we really need to figure out.
We are 1 minute away, and there is still a little bit more for...
I know, but it's literally just, yes, we're keeping this, no, we're not, on the weather effects portion. That's why I said it's not bad.
I think I am spent for today. At least for right now.
Are you fine if I just ask yes or no?
Make a proposal, and I can go over it when I've got the energy for it.
That's fine.
Yeah, just, like you did with the proposal, like you did with the maneuvers. Something like that.
I like how you paused as you considered the fact that one of my proposals was like for armor. And you paused.
Well, I was trying to remember the term, because
Okay.
running low on energy here.
That's the same.
Alright. We got some good work done today, though.
We did.
But for
Wonderful.
now, thank you everybody for joining us so far on the stream today. That was DevTales. Check out our website, zgfgaming.com. We've got links for our Discord, Telegram, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Patreon, and more. They are on the website as well as down in the description below through our link tree. Thank you to my patrons, tippers, and subscribers. It is your support that keeps this channel alive and going. I cannot do this without your guys' help and support, so thank you. Consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/zgfgaming. It's one of the best ways to support the channel, though you can also do so by simply sharing the stream around, as well as coming by, hanging out, grabbing some packs of cards or stream loots, using our Humble Bundle partner link, or subscribing to our YouTube. But for now, thank you all so much for joining, and I bid you the most fondest adieu.
Bye.